The Federal Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development today presented a memo on the revised National Animal Health Policy for approval. The Council listened to the memo and graciously approved. The purpose of the memo is to revise the old or previous policy that deals with animal health. Why the revision? A lot of things have happened that brought to the fore the critical importance of animal health, the new components, where we must be very conscious of how healthy the animals that we dwell in, whether they are pets or whether they are livestock that we either use for food or for whatever reasons, because we realize the frequency of zoonotic diseases, that's diseases coming from animals to infect humans, seem to be on the rise. There is also the transboundary diseases, meaning maybe animals from another country through going and coming can infect animals here and then can infect humans. So the importance really is, if we just focus on us humans to be healthy and the animals around us are unhealthy and they can infect us, then there is something grossly wrong. So this is the reason for this memo, so that we have increased our tracing, our caring for the animals, discovering new diseases, or vaccinating these animals, and we have done that with all kinds of animals. For example, rabies with dogs. We just flagged off vaccination of dogs that may have rabies, because if they do, they can infect humans. And this is not just viruses, even bacteria can be harbored in animals and can be transmitted to humans. So the purpose of the new policy is to upgrade on the old policy to make sure it's comprehensive. And this is based on a new concept of One Health. One Health meaning human health and animal health can be considered as one, because one can cause an adverse effect, especially animals to humans. So this is basically really the purpose of this policy, and has been approved. And this is in collaboration with state government, just so that you know, state have been carried along, other stakeholders have been carried along, and the whole purpose is to make sure there's a holistic cooperation and implementation of the policy. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, I think he has about 4 memos that he presented today that is going to brief us about. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lai. Good afternoon. Today I presented a memo to Council for which we obtained approval for the award of contract for the construction of a new Federal Inland Revenue Service office with parking lots at 17B Awolowo Road in Lagos. This contract was awarded in favor of Messrs. ECC Nigeria Limited at a total cost of 14,088,887,805 naira 80 kobo, inclusive of 7.5% VAT, with a completion period of 24 months. The construction of this building will save the Federal Inland Revenue Service about 4 billion naira yearly rent that they have been paying. And it will also help the Lagos State government to reduce traffic congestion along Awolowo Road and the adjoining roads. The building is to be sited in the premises already owned by FRS, so there is no purchase of land involved. The property measures 11,857 square meters. The other memo I presented had to do with the approval for the creation of a database of national capital projects information system of government. And what this project seeks to take care of is the increasing number of abandoned and uncompleted projects that we have all over the place, which is turning out to be a major drain of funds and represent a waste in the nation's budget on scarce resources. So Council approved the setting up of a team, a Council on the National Capital Projects Information System, which involves the key infrastructure ministries. And this team will be headed by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. And they are to look at and prioritize fund-selected projects on a yearly basis to completion, look at the possibility of maybe privatizing some of the projects or transfer of ownership to either state or local governments, how to repurpose the projects for alternative use, or completely abandon or dismantle the project and treat those as sunk costs. One of the other memo I submitted had to do with the Nigerian Customs Service, and there was approval for the award of contract for the purchase of a property at Mombe Estate, which is on plot 21, cadastral zone E23. This has to do with the welfare of the customs officers. So provision of residential accommodation, like you know, is a major incentive for officers and men towards improving their efficiency and productivity. Some of these officers are currently residing in hotels. Some stay back in the offices. And we think that that is not too good enough. And so the service intends to purchase an estate consisting of 274 housing units, which are categorized as follows: 128 units of 3-bedroom flats, 96 units of 2-bedroom flats, and 50 units of 3-bedroom terrace duplexes. And this is in favor of the Messrs. Mobe Estate and Properties Limited, and it's to the sum of 14.405 billion. The last memo for which we obtained approval, again, was also for customs, and it's in favor of 3 companies. Messrs. Packets Engineering Limited, Cosgrove Investment Limited, and Tranquil Energy Limited. And these are basically for purchase of laptops for training and CBT exam for the customs cadets, construction of 2 numbers, 30 rooms male cadets hostel, and 1 number, 30 rooms female cadet hostel at Customs Training College in Kano, and for the supply of 703 numbers laptop computers with mouse for the training schools. Thank you very much.
Question number 1 about vaccinations implementation. First of all, health is on the concurrent list. The federal government will undertake programs and projects, so will the state government. And this is one of them, animals, livestock. The federal government will give support to state. And to this end, we have trained over 100 veterinarians and deployed to state. However, the main drive is to have the state to recruit their own veterinarians, doctors, and veterinary technologists that will also cater for their own activities. Vaccination, just as you have mentioned, we have routine vaccination every year, and we have flagged off series of them. Just recently at the FCT, perhaps you might have seen me actually flagging up by vaccinating one of the cows there. We have done it with dogs and several other livestock. So this is a routine thing. You talked about teaching. Yes, that is something we are working on, to have the pastoralists themselves and their children to be able to vaccinate the animals. Who will provide, as usual, the vaccines and have them do. And the good thing is, we have our laboratory in Jos, VOM, that produces different kinds of vaccine. I think that laboratory produces nothing less than 12 different kinds of vaccines for use here in Nigeria, and even exporting to the neighboring countries. So we are on top of that, and it's something that we need to really be serious about, because, as I mentioned, zoonotic diseases means one that can go from animals to humans, and we know, of course, Ebola is one of them. The COVID, rabies, there are several of them, both viral and bacterial. So that is something the ministry has on schedule every year. We do that. Number two, food hygiene. Coming back to the same question, that health is on concurrent list. The federal government will do what the federal government responsibility and mandate is to the state, and the balance of that will help the state, will guide them and have them do it. Unfortunately, it's the investment. Some states may invest heavily on those kind of areas, some may not. But the federal government, again, cannot do everything for the state when they have budget for it to do. Currently, we have gotten some intervention, and we are doing a number of intervention to the state, like upgrading the abattoirs, even procuring cold vans that will be distributed to state, upgrading some of the abattoirs. And we have done that. But again, it comes down to the state taking responsibility and doing what they are supposed to do. We do have inspectors from the federal, but again, the final one at the state level is the state Ministry of Health that will go and do some of those things. Finally, what about what? There is law at the federal, and then the state assemblies will also do their own law. Now, here is one thing about a concurrent list. The federal government will make law. State cannot lower the stringiness of that. Cannot go below that, but they can even make their stringent. For example, if we say there should be maybe 0.01 part per million in an effluent from abattoir. State cannot come and say, no, we want to make it 0.02, but they can say we want to even make it 0.001, meaning this can be more stringent because they know the peculiarity of their state. So again, the laws can be enacted by state assemblies in concurrent with that of the federal or lower, or more stringent rather. Food security. Yes, I have said that time and time again. Currently, we do not have food shortage. There is no food shortage. High prices in some commodities, inflation, yes, is currently the same just about everywhere around the world for the different reasons. Still the after effect of COVID, where supply lines, chains have not totally opened. Climate change is an issue, and the current Ukraine-Russian war. There are a number of things. Different countries are tackling it based on their own peculiarity, but currently it's a world phenomenon. What are we doing to reduce this? And that I have also mentioned. One of the things is to make sure, first of all, that there is food in the country, supply and demand. That's why we are making sure that we'll do the dry season farming. We know a lot of farmlands have been flooded, and we'll lose some crops from the rainy season. So we want to make up for that And it's not just the ministry, even the central bank, are involved in agricultural production. So we are banking on making sure that we do that. And the president is 100% behind the augmentation of food production, and we will do that. So I am assuring you again, there will be no food shortage. We are working on bringing down inflation, and one of them, we just got another memo approved about 3 weeks ago on farm gate pricing. Farm gate pricing is a situation where middlemen and even foreigners will go to the point of harvest and buy. We have prevented that because it increases the amount of produce in the market and also reduces the intake of the farmer himself. So we have stopped that and many other things. In the distribution of grains, we're also helping certain commodity value chains with grains at maybe 75% discount so that they can produce feed, which will now cost their cost of production, and they will be able to sell their commodity less. So we are doing everything possible to make sure there is food and there will be no food shortage. Thank you.
Sir, just to gain clarity, did you say we're working on bringing down inflation? How is that? By the same token, the Minister of Budget and National Finance, have you also, I don't know what your thoughts are on the Naira redesign. Is that also going to help with the inflation issues you're experiencing?
I just said we are bringing it down. One, making sure there's availability, more production. When there is supply and demand is simple economics. Supply and demand. When there is availability, prices are low. We are saying also that we subsidize certain raw materials for poultry farmers and also providing inputs, fertilizer to farmers. That will also reduce costs because if you are getting it at lower cost, you will definitely sell it at that. We'll improve production. We'll be doing intensive dry season farming. Again, not just the Ministry of Agri, but Central Bank will also be doing. So these are some of the ways that we will do to, and also prevent smuggling out of the country. So at least some of these measures, 4 of them and more, I can list you more and more, that are working towards reducing inflation. Thank you.